Hi, welcome to the 5th tutorial in this pastel painting series. In this video I'm going to show you how to combine two photographs to create a new composition. I've singled out a sheep from a photograph of a head, and for the background I've used a blurred photograph of a field near where I live. To do this I've used chunky soft pastels and slightly harder soft pastels for general application. I've used these soft pastel pencils for the detail, masking tape for masking off, and a pastel fixative. In this case I'm using hairspray with a high alcohol content to fix the pastel to the paper when you're finished. So here I'm starting with the base layer of the sky using the side of the light blue thick soft pastel. To achieve the blurry effect photo for the background, I took a photo using my smartphone and focused the camera on my finger roughly where I thought the subject would be. The focus on my finger in the foreground made the background blurry. Now I'm applying a darker blue around the edges to create a sense of atmosphere to the sky. Now I'm blending these in really well, starting from the top down to make a gradient. I'm applying some white clouds in the background with a harder white soft pastel. Using a brown soft pastel, I'm adding the bushes and tree outlines in the background. Leave paper showing through to allow you to layer lighter colours on top. Now I'm adding dark green on top to suggest the darker green foliage. There is a bright yellow for a gorsebush, so I'm applying the yellow on top of the brown with some green underneath for definition. Next I'm going over the blue to create darker shadows of the foliage. To create the blurred effect, I'm lightly blending with my finger. For the darker shadows, I'm using ultramarine blue. For the highlights on the trees, I'm applying some light green. Using the side of my light green soft pastel, I'm applying the ground for the grass. There is a highlight here on the field, so I've applied yellow and ochre and blended this into the green. There are two paths in the background, so I've used ochre for the background in both of those. Next I'm applying a medium green in short dashes over the top of the light green to create the grass texture. Then I'm layering dark green in the same fashion to add more depth to the grass. I'm applying more of the dark green where I can see shadow on the blurred photo. Blue is used to create the dark greens and the shadow areas. To add more variation to the grass, I'm applying some brown streaks to the grass nearer the foreground, then applying highlights in the foreground using white. I'm using brown and blue as shadow on the path, which is created by the tufts of grass to the right. I've noticed that both paths have a peachy colour to them, so I'm applying a flesh pink colour over the top of the ochre. create the blurred effect of the soft focus background, I'm blending softly with upward strokes so as not to disturb all the mark making, but just to blur it slightly. Now I'm creating the fence in the background using the corner of my white soft pastel to create a sharp line. Notice how the lines of the fence get narrower and the post gets shorter the further away it gets. This further adds to the sense of atmospheric perspective in the background. I'm ready at this stage to start the portrait of the sheep. I've started using dark brown for the base layer of the sheep, mapping out all the areas of shadow. I'm using a variety of mark making techniques here. Squiggles for the fur and the body, dashes for the fur coming out of the face, and swirls for the fur on top of the face of the sheep. Ochre is the next colour I've chosen for the fur of the sheep, as I notice that its fur has a yellowy cream look to it. Next, I'm going in with a light grey to apply the medium light tones I can see in the fur. I'm using a scrumpling technique here, which is where you roughly apply marks over the surface of the paper. The last colour of pastel one applies will be the most dominant visually. For the inside of the ears, I'm using a brown to get the tonal values of the ear. Then applying pink on top to get the colour saturation. White is used to add highlights for the light pink in the ear. Light grey can be used to create lighter hairs in the darker areas such as the ear's interior. Here I'm using a dark grey to add more shadow and variety of shade to the fur. For the face, I'm using a mixture of light grey and dark grey to describe the contours of the features. I'm softly blending all the colours and shades I've applied on the fur to create the background. The chin gets darker towards the bottom and lighter towards the top, so I'm showing this with dark grey, then outlining the bottom of the chin in brown. I'm gradually increasing the contrast by applying brown and grey. For the nose and mouth, I'm using brown as the base coat. Brown to outline the eyes and yellow for the interior of the eye. I'm adding more contrast to the fur, applying squiggles to create the suggestion of the texture. Using a grey pastel pencil, I'm adding more detail and shadow to the fur. Using grey for the outline of the eyelid as a placeholder. Now I'm using white to add highlights to the fur, particularly in the face, to accentuate the snout, bridge of the nose, eyelids and tops of the fur where the sun is shining. To achieve a more brilliant white application to the pastel, keep dusting off any grey or brown you see on a paper towel. This will ensure that every mark is as white as possible. I'm going in with a white pastel pencil to record the fine white hairs around the face and to create the eyelashes of the sheep. With my darkest brown soft pastel pencil, I'm applying the pupil, leaving a white gap for the highlight and surrounding the eye. Going back in with my white pencil to apply the white of the highlight, the white hair detail around the ears. To add more contrast and definition, I'm applying black pastel pencil to the nose and mouth. Now I'm just applying the finishing touches of grey hairs going down into the black and white hairs around the ears. And here you have it, the finished painting of a sheep in a field. Now I'm ready to fix it with my pastel fixative, which is hairspray. And carefully peel off the masking tape. I hope you've enjoyed this pastel painting tutorial. Remember when combining two photographs that the light should be similar in both images so the final composition makes sense visually. Thank you very much for watching.